Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but this game is really over, and it's only halftime. The game is over at 82-55. You ready for this? How often have we talked about this, guys? The Sacramento bench, goose eggs, goose eggs, and their three-point shooting once again is bad. You don't want to play the Thunder right now, but you certainly don't want to play them after a loss, Jerry. I don't know if I've seen a team play better than the Thunder did in that first half.
No, I agree with that. I mean, they're a trip you knew coming in, they would be at their very best, and which they have been, even though they don't have all their best players, which shows you
Yeah.
how good they are. But their defense is outstanding. They're as good defensively as the Kings are bad defensively. I mean, they really have some stiffness to their defense, and the Kings that first half, if they'd have been any softer, they'd have melted. I mean, it was just
Wow,
you
bunch
know,
of pillows out there.
well, I mean, like I say, other than the half court defense, which was bad, the transition defense was bad, the 3 point
Yeah.
defense was bad. So other than that, terrible, terrible, terrible half.
Couple of shocking things. Two stats that jump out at me. The Kings only turned the ball over 3 times. 3 times, and they're down this much. The second stat is the Thunder scored 82, only getting to the line 10 times, Jerry. Getting to the line is their bread and butter. They're one of the smartest teams that I have seen play this year, Jerry.
Oh, I agree. I mean, their ball movement's terrific. Their spacing is terrific. You almost never see them take a forced shot. Gilgeous Alexander may do it, but then he can do it and score in tough situations and draw fouls. But overall, I mean, they're a serious contender. I mean, that's all you
You're the
can say
real
about
freaking
them.
deal. And Jerry, you keep on talking about injuries. Can you imagine when Chet Holmgren is back? And I don't know when that's going to be, but I mean, he was an important piece of this wheel.
Oh, absolutely. It gives them even a better defense. And then, of course, Caruso is a nice role player off the bench, another defender. As of course, Jalen Williams not playing tonight, who's really their second best player. So, they've got the full complement. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how it's going to play out, obviously, but
Think about that. No Williams, as you said. We know about Holmgren. I mean, you're down 82-55. That's embarrassing. You gave up 82 points in the first half to a team without key players on it. So I'll ask you now, I mean, are we back at rock bottom again with this team? They're looking at a 1-4 6-game trip with one left. So they're looking at 1-4. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any way the Kings are going to win this game. And then you have a red hot Minnesota team. Are we right back to where we were before they fired Mike Brown?
well, we may know it pretty soon because I mean, besides this game, but I think the Minnesota game will be a real tell. If the team continues to play like this and really gets embarrassed, which certainly looks like they're on their way to, then if they don't really fight back and have a strong game against Minnesota, that'll tell you probably what you need to know. So a little early to say that, but 82 points and a half. Come on, that tells you. I mean, the Kings, as you pointed out earlier, I mean, Kings can't make any 3 point shots, and as usual, their opposition makes all of them.
Yeah, I don't think we're at rock bottom yet whatsoever, because if the Kings knock down a couple of shots, we're talking about a 65 possibly point half. To me, that's enough points for the Kings to be competitive. Just so happens, as Jerry said, the defense tonight against a top-notch team has been awful. I mean, when the Kings went into the zone, they had one of the most brilliant zone breaks, cutting a guard from the top to the middle that I have seen all year. So it doesn't help that you're being out hustled. Look at the offensive rebounds. The Kings were out rebounded by 10 in the first quarter. So those are the things you have to do to beat a Thunder team. I just think the Thunder are that much better than the Kings.
They are that much better. They're probably not, as you pointed out, with some missed shots, maybe it's a smaller deficit. They're not this much better. They're not 82-55 better, but they are clearly better. You know what everyone's talking about right now is the De'Aaron Fox situation. The fact that the trade deadline is coming up in a couple of days. Is this affecting the team, do you think, Jerry?
Well, you would hope not, but I think it'd be hard to say it hasn't. The team certainly didn't seem to come out and really bow their backs and and say we're putting all that aside and we're really going to bring our best game forward. And we didn't see that. So you just don't know. But certainly it's a distraction. You'd like for teams, in many cases, those kind of things are forgotten once the ball goes up. Guys just play and compete. But it just simply, no question, it's a distraction off the floor and at other times. And so it certainly appears to me that maybe it has interfered with their play.
Jerry, something Grant and I have kicked around on the post-game show without you is, if trading Fox is a realistic possibility before the deadline, should the Kings be sitting him down?
Well, that's a great question. I think the problem is by doing that, you don't, unless you know for sure what the deal is, you may not have a deal, and there may be other people involved in the discussions. And so to set him down might not be to your advantage. So I don't think you have any choice really, unless the deal's done. If you've got a deal agreed to, then you do that.
Yeah. That's an embarrassing first half we just looked at. All right, so it's prediction time. I'll go first. I don't think there's any way in the world, even though Jerry and I have witnessed some great comebacks, that's going to happen in this one. I think the Thunder will coast in this. I think the Kings have a run left in them. I do, but they don't have a 27-point run left in them. I think it's going to be 136 to 108.
I kind of like you. I think they're going to have a run. I think it's more what the Thunder will do, but I think it's going to be 138 to 121.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a run in store this time with SGA on the bench. They didn't do that in the first half. I'm going to say 139 to 109 for this one.
All right, here's another question. Devin Carter, why is he only playing 3 minutes?
Yeah, this would be a good time. Now we'll see what happens in the second half. But obviously, this is the kind of game you probably need to find out a little bit more about him, because clearly you've got a bench that you have no bench to speak of. So maybe he could become a guy that you can count on. We just haven't seen enough.
Offensively,
go ahead, Ryan. I want to just step in 1 second because you talked about the bench, and Ryan, I want to ask you this same question. Have either of you guys remembered a box sheet at halftime where the bench has no points?
I don't think and of course I'm only 81 years old, but I don't I don't think I do.
Jerry, you had some pretty bad teams that you coached. You had some good players, but they started. But I don't even recall in all your years you had a bench that didn't score.
Yeah, we had terrible benches. That was the reason. That was a kind of the main reason we couldn't consistently win. You had nobody on the bench, but they'd score some. You get some points off the bench.
Ryan, do you remember? Remember a box score with no points in the bench in the first half?
No, I can remember box scores with no field goals and free throws that give you points, but not 0 of each. It's insane.
Well, this is looking like a disastrous road trip with 6 quarters of basketball remaining and 82 to 55. I made a comment after, I want to think it was after the Knicks game or the Brooklyn game. I can't remember. And I said that I'm looking at how the Kings are playing more so than what the final score is. That's what I said. And there's nothing that I've seen on this road trip, nothing that has given me any optimism for the rest of this season. Now, what we don't know is whether there will be a big trade and that will shake up the lineup and maybe give this team some oomph. But right now, there's not one thing that I've seen on this road trip that would make me optimistic for the rest of this season about getting back into the real thick of things if I'm a Kings fan. I don't see it right now. I'm sorry.
Well, it's tough too right in this first half. I'll tell you that. There's no doubt about it. The only real positive is you look at some teams like the Warriors, and some are still struggling as well. But the downside is now we're seeing the Phoenix Suns and teams like that starting to get it together. And certainly the Minnesota Timberwolves have got it together. And so, no, it's not very encouraging at this moment. I'll say that.
Jerry, if you were sitting courtside, there's no way Kevin Durant would be talking to you like he talked to Gary Payton last night during the game. But, look, I think their secret sauce, Grant, was turning defense into offense. It was hustle. It was getting to the 50-50 balls, and that just brings your play up across the board. And we've seen nothing like that since the Warriors game at home, guys.
No.
Yeah,
No.
and to your point earlier, Ryan, I mean, one of the things, the rebounding has been bad, but primarily because there's no missed shots.
Yeah.
You can't rebound. You're just, when you're taken out of the net, that's not a rebound.
Yeah. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, boy, you watch him play and you just go like, wow, he is a wow player, isn't he?
Well, he is. And I mean, you see why he's front runner for MVP. Certainly he and Jokic and Antetokounmpo, to me, that's your three. I would vote for Gilgeous-Alexander myself now, just because they got the best record. And so, but he is a dominant player and gets his points, without looking like he forces anything to speak of, and in the frame of the offense, he's a kind of a Luka Doncic type without the passing, and he's a better defender.
Jerry, have you seen a more fundamental impact player than SGA as of late?
I can't think of one. He's like a bigger, more skilled version of Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Where Jalen just is such a scrappy, tough kid and finds ways to be productive. But, Shai Gilgeous is about 5 inches taller and can do all the same things.
Well, 82-55, that second quarter was about as bad as it gets, allowing 46 points and only scoring 24. We always talk about the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. I'm not even talking about that to try to win the game. I'm just talking about to see whether this team's got any you-know-what, because they got their face rubbed in it in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to come out and grow a pair and cut it in the lead. I mean, simple as that. Good grief. You're professionals. Go play like it.
Well, amen. Ryan?
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say.
I have nothing else to say. Jerry nailed it.
We will be back after the game. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we'll be back in an hour. Jerry, thank you very much. Enjoy your rest of your weekend.
I'll try to. You guys try to enjoy the post game if you can.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll see you in about an hour, everybody.